still some lag. Is there, what about on my end? Does it look all right?
You're crystal clear.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so as long as you are, don't worry about me.
Okay.
I'm not worried about how I look. But let's kick this off, man, because
Let's do it.
I want to start
Let's do
off
it.
by telling them who Cody James is. You were raised by a single mother, grew up
Yep.
around domestic violence and poverty. As a child, you and your sister were abused. You guys were locked in closets, left for hours at a time. There were nights you guys were sleeping on the floor of a trailer with no heat, no water,
That's
no
right.
electricity, mice running through the kitchen. And you also spent time in a battered woman's shelter with your family, and you didn't meet your dad until you were 12 years old. You're the oldest of six. So for you, responsibilities came very early. But despite all of that, Cody was a straight A student. You graduated top 10 in your class and you earned the opportunity to play college football. But like a lot of men, unfortunately, you sabotaged it with the drinking and the partying and the bullshit.
That's
Um,
right.
and everything that you dealt with through your childhood, you carried this trauma like a ball and chain for, you said, about 30 years. And at your lowest point, you were 400 pounds, broke and isolated on 15 acres in Mississippi. One morning, you were drunk, sitting in your truck, and dude, this resonates with me so much. You're drunk, sitting in your truck, bottle in your hand. You came face to face with the end of your life. And that was the moment you finally let go, surrendered to God, and everything changed. And this is the most important thing to me. Your wife stood by you through it all.
Throughout the entire
Same
time.
with me.
Yep.
Same with me, brother. And without her strength, I'd be dead for sure. Um, so let's go through your childhood a little bit. I can't imagine growing up in those conditions, but would you say that now looking back, you're grateful?
I am grateful. I am grateful to have gone through all those things. And that's a really crazy thing to say, right? Especially with some of the things that you just read. And I just want to state that I've never spoke about some of these things publicly, right? So this is my coming out party for who I really am because a lot of people really don't know who I truly am, what I've truly been through, right? But I'll take you back, man. So I'm from St. Pete, Florida, St. Petersburg, Florida. I was born 1991. I'm 34 years old. I'll be 35 this year. And man, we struggled. My mom, boyfriends, different boyfriends, right? I'm the oldest of six. When I was 12, she met my stepdad, right? That's when life started to get a little bit better, was when she got with his name's Dave. Dave, if you're here, man, love your brother. I got a lot of respect for him. He really changed my life. He kind of took hell and made it bearable, right? So that way we could kind of continue on. But before 12 years old, I lived in five different states. I lived in Florida. Spent some time in Virginia Beach, spent some time in Ohio, spent some time in Tennessee, and then spent some time in Mississippi as well. So we moved around a lot. Being poor, that's what happens, right? You lose this place, you gotta figure it out. You gotta pivot, got to get into this place. I grew up on government assistance, food stamps, EBT, all those different things, man. Um, that part about the trailer, I was in Ohio at that time, right? My mom had a super abusive boyfriend. Used to beat the hell out of my mom. He'd spend the little bit of money he made working. He would spend it on going to the bar. He was a crackhead, man. Doing copious
Hmm.
amounts of drugs. So, he put his hands on me really bad one time, and that it kind of superseded all the other times, right? Like there was just this one particular instance where it was really bad, and my mom was like, "Okay, we got to get out of here." So we went to the shelter. We were at this domestic violence battered women's shelter, and we were there for must have been like 3 or 4 months, something like that, right? I was probably 9 years old at the time, maybe 10. And I remember it's like a group home. Everybody would help cook, right? There was a lot of women and children there. There wasn't any men there at all. And I remember I latched on to this kid. His name was Nick, and he was 17 years old. He was a varsity Letterman football player, right? His family was going through some tough times. And so during that time in that battered women's shelter, I had a positive role model. And I wish I knew what his last name was because I would love to have a conversation with him today because
Yeah.
he really helped me get through that time, right? Get through that time. And before my mom met my stepdad, there was four of us. It was me and then my three little sisters, right? So by the time I was 5, 6 years old, I was changing diapers, I was babysitting, cleaning the house, right? I would do whatever I could do to earn money to help my mom buy whatever at such an early age. I was that kid, 7, 8 years old, pushing the lawnmower around the trailer park trying to make money. And I did. I did. I would leave with a 1 gallon gas can and this piece of shit lawnmower, and I'd come back at the end of the day with 30, $40. Man, I'd mow people's grass for $5 a pop. I'd try to upsell you a car wash on my way out for $5 more. And people have
Love
always
it.
respected the hustle from a kid, right? My daughter, she has like little driveway sales and she likes to sell lemonade and just whatever, right? And people really respond to that, especially today, because when I was a kid growing up in the 90s, and I'm sure you can relate to this, a lot of kids were outside hustling. It was kind of
Yeah.
it was just a different society back then, right? But
Playing
now,
sports too.
yeah, playing sports outside, we were always out. I was always outside. There was no inside, dude.
Yeah.
So I had a very strong work ethic from a very young age, right? But I'll tell you, that was because the people that I grew up around were super poor and they put money on this insane pedestal, right? Like people who don't have money worship money like it's God. And that's a
Yeah.
massive problem out here. That is a massive problem. I mean, the things that people do for money when they're struggling, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. But so I'm 10 years old. We're in this trailer park in Ohio. It was a rough, rough trailer park, man. I was constantly getting my ass beat by all these older boys, jumped, right? Like it was literally fighting for survival because all the kids that grew up in this trailer park with me were traumatized as well, getting beat on at their houses. Their dads were drunks, right? Like this was not a nice place.
Yeah.
But like you said, you find as an adult, I look back, there's two things that have always kind of defined who I am, right? Number one was my toughness. I'm a tough guy. I'm a tough guy. I'm not you can be a tough guy without being an abusive guy and different things like that, right?
Sure.
Like I'm not an angry guy. I had somebody ask me something similar to this the other day, and I told them I'm healed. I'm healed, right? I'm controlled. My aggression is controlled, right? But I'm tough and I've always been able to take a punch and get back up. And I learned that from being a kid, living in this trailer park, getting beat on by other kids who were just as traumatized as me. I learned that from, getting hands put on me by grown men. Like you said, me and my sister were locked in the closet. We were, man. It was horrible. It was horrible. I remember using the bathroom and cups and stuff in this closet. And then I remember the guy who locked us in the closet would laugh at us, grown ass man, would laugh at us after he saw you know, that we were pissing and shitting in these cups and stuff, man, me and my little sister, and just horrible, just horrible. I don't
That's
wish
evil.
these things on absolute evil,
Yeah.
right? I'm 34 years old. I look back on these things and I'm just like, man, we had some
You
tough
know that
times.
somebody that's doing that is hurt because hurt people. If
Facts.
you're
Right.
doing that to another human being, what was done to you? That's the way I look
Right.
at it.
And that's
It's
a and
unfortunate.
that's a tough question to really sit there and try to digest, right? Like if you're doing that to people, I can only imagine some of the things that he probably went through when he was a kid. But throughout all these things, man, and you brought up the mice, right? Like I remember living in that trailer in Ohio and it was 0 degrees outside. We had PVC pipes underneath the trailer. They all broke, right? So we didn't have any water. Um, No electricity, no heat, all at the same time, man. I remember us sleeping in the living room of this trailer, and all of us, my mom, her boyfriend, all my sisters, right? We've got all the blankets and mattresses and stuff on the floor in the living room, and we had no TV. And I remember I was reading a Harry Potter book out loud to my entire family, including two grown adults, as they sat on the couch and just listened to me read this Harry Potter book to my sisters. Everybody fell asleep that night. And I remember laying on that floor and I remember hearing mice because there was mice, field mice in Ohio, really bad, all up in this trailer we were in. And I remember laying there listening to the mice eat the crumbs off the floor, because the kitchen was right next to us. You know what I'm saying? I'm basically sleeping in the living room and kitchen floor. I remember the mice eating the crumbs off the floor. And I remember being 10 years old thinking, one day I'm going to change everything. My kids will not go
Mm.
through this. You know, being a good dad was so important to me at such an early age because remind you, I didn't meet my dad until I was 12. So all these things that I'm going through by myself. And all I ever heard was
Yeah.
just terrible stories about my dad. My dad did some time in prison. Just, your dad's a piece of shit, blah, 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 right? And going through those things, man, as a little boy by yourself, but that was normal. That was normal life to me, you know? I didn't know any other life. I didn't, I'd go to my friend's house. I was that kid who would go to the friend's house and his parents felt super bad for me. So they were always giving me
Yeah.
stuff, right? They were always giving me food. They were always giving me clothes. I remember when we left Ohio, we came back to St. Pete and we didn't have shit, man. My mom packed us four kids in this car, came back to Florida. It was a Pontiac Sunbird. It had different colors, doors. One was rusty and one was just primer paint, right? And we get back to Florida, dude. We don't have anything. And I had a childhood friend, and they actually donated an entire house of furniture to us. Rob Panoff, shout out to you, man. But
It's awesome.
throughout all these things, I would absolutely say that I'm grateful now at almost 35 years old looking back. I'm grateful that these things happen to me, man, which is a crazy thing to say, right? People hear that, they're like, how can you be grateful for that? Because I
You
finally
didn't remain a victim.
understand I'm not a victim. I'm not a victim. And my circumstances don't define me, right? I
Right.
control the narrative. You control the narrative.
But they did for a while though, right?
Oh, they did. They did for
And
30
that's
years.
where
For
most
30
people get
years.
stuck.
Right. Right. And they don't ever come out of that. I look around at
Right.
all these people, Mike, and they don't come out of that. They don't wake up. I'm blessed. I'm blessed. 100% I can sit here in front of the world and tell everybody, thank God for saving me, right? And I know that that's why we do what we do. That's why we're on this call right now, right? Because we want to help wake people up to that fact that your circumstances don't define you. The shit that you go through happens for a reason, right? The worst things in people's lives are actually rocket fuel, and they don't even understand it. They don't even understand that. That space that you come to, I'll tell you all about my lowest point in my life here in a minute. But that space that you come to when you hit rock bottom, that is fucking jet fuel, right? And if
Oh yeah.
you really lock in on that, you will come up out of whatever hole you've dug yourself into and all the way out until you break free of the matrix and everything else, man. Absolutely.
That's the
And,
beginning.
so for my clients and the people that I try to surround myself with, I try to be the reminding beacon of that for them. Right. I know that you see a lot of my flex content. I work with a lot of real estate agents. I work with fitness coaches, and I just try to be that lighthouse, right? That guiding figure because everybody has real problems that they deal with. I don't give a shit if you're a realtor and you make $500,000 a year, right? You struggle. There's a lot of substance abuse in the real estate industry, and
Right.
it's important that I don't lose sight of who I am, right? I've had people tell me, Cody, man, with Flex, maybe you shouldn't post so much training content, so much mindset content. Try to focus on this or focus on that. And I told him, look, with all due respect, who I am is why Flex exists, right? Who I am is why all these people bought in and are here right now because they see the vision not only of Flex, but they believe in me. Why? Because I show them how to believe in themselves. And that's it. That's the main premise behind everything that we try to
Where it
do, right?
starts.
That's where
Yeah.
it starts. That's where it starts. So,
Take me
so yeah,
back to when you were in high school, when the drinking started.
yeah. So I'm in high school. We're in Mississippi, right? So we came when I was 12. No, I'm sorry, 10 or 11. We came back to Florida from Ohio. Ohio was hell. It was hell. That was hands down the worst points in my life, right? All the way through grown man to now. That always takes the cake for me. We come back to Florida.
Yeah.
My mom gets a decent job. She starts working at Goodyear, right? We get a little rental house. I finally start to see a little bit of normalcy, right? Just regular meals. The electricity's actually on in the
No
house, stuff
mice.
like that. No mice, no mice, right? We didn't have money or anything like that, but we were able to survive. Now, my mom met my stepdad and we moved in with him, and he was a great guy, man. He worked really hard. He was a mechanic, right? He was always outside working on side jobs and stuff. And so I'm a stepfather today, right? I've got a 17-year-old stepdaughter who I look at as my own. I've been raising her since she's 5.
Yeah.
And I know that to her I am what he is to me, right? Whether that be the support that you needed to get you through your childhood or whatever that may look like for her. But I know that I'm very grateful that I had a man who kind of stepped in to provide financially so that we could actually get out of that pit that we were in. So we're in Florida, stuff starts getting better. Well, then this was 2004 or 5. The bottom falls out financially. We started getting closer to that 2007, 2008 financial collapse, right? The writing was on the wall with that coming at this time in 2005. So financially, my mom and my stepdad went broke. We had to leave. We moved to
Mm.
Mississippi. So, mind you, I'm 14 years old. I live in St. Pete, Florida. I'm a punk rock skater kid. I had red spiky hair, right? And
No way.
we moved to the fucking woods. We moved to the woods, dude. Right? Like where I was in Ohio was in like a suburban metropolitan trailer park area. When we went to
Yeah.
Mississippi, dude, it was nothing but pine trees, bro. I'm talking everybody lived on acres and acres of land. I remember the first day I stepped on the school bus. I was in 8th grade. And this was right after Katrina hit too, right after Katrina destroyed Mississippi. So I start going to school in an area that was just absolutely obliterated, right? And we get there, I get on the school bus and they're looking at me like I'm an alien. I got a hoodie with my thumbs punched through holes in the hoodie, right? I was wearing Blink 182 t-shirts and shit like that. I had a hat like yours on, you know. And I get on the bus and everybody's farmers, John Deere green overalls, and I had long hair at this time, right? I had spiky hair, and eventually I let it get longer. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, they knew I was from a different planet, right? But I'll tell you, I gained some of the best friends and still today, to this day, I have some great friends because I got into football, I got into sports. This was when I really started to turn into and build the kind of the foundation of who I am today, right?
Mm.
I've always been a big guy. I'm naturally gifted in the weight room. I always have been. I was naturally gifted on the football field because I was tough, because I had work ethic, right? I was able to take pieces of me that weren't really up to par and shape them and mold them until I was the best, right? All through hard work. I was the first in the weight room, the last to leave. My coaches loved me. So, but that's where the problem started, right? That's when I started drinking. I was 15 years old, man. I started going to parties. I got a driver's license at 15 years old. I had a beat up ass pickup truck. I had a job. I actually got my first job when I'm 14 years old. Taco Bell. And then I bounced around kind of different fast food places all through high school while I was playing football and stuff. But I was a straight A student. I graduated number 9 in my class. Graduated with special honors. Had a few different scholarships, man. But the drinking was a serious problem. It was a serious. I look back now and think, damn, dude. At 17 years old, we were polishing off 24 packs like they were going out of style, right? And you think that that's so cool because the people that I grew up
Yeah.
around, that's what they did, right? The baddest motherfucker you know can drink the most booze. You know what I'm saying? Like that
Right.
was the measurements of a man in the atmosphere that I grew up in. And it carried over. It carried over into my high school years. So drinking all the time, I started smoking weed in high school, started having sex, doing all those different things, man. And quickly you find out that if you actually want to be an athlete, these two things don't mesh, right? I remember getting trashed before a game. Everybody's at the game puking all over the place. Our coach finds out, he's pissed, right? He's pissed. But I grew up, I started to be a leader. You know what I'm saying? That was where like leadership qualities started to come into play because football in South Mississippi during these early 2000s years was not for the faint of heart, right? My coaches all played back in the 70s. I remember one time I was dying and I was a captain. I was a captain and I'm dying and me and my coach are super fucking tight, man. And I was like, Coach Brad, I need some water, dude. Like between me and you, I need a shot of water. Looks me dead in my face. If you want some water, you better suck that sweat out of your jersey. Get your ass back out on that field. Right? There was no special treatment for me, even though I was captain, even though I was the best offensive lineman every year in high school, right? Even though I had straight A's, my coach didn't give a shit. And I
Yeah.
respect that. I respect that.
Oh yeah.
My football coach, if I look back at the totality of influential men in my life, my high school football coach is hands down one of the most influential men that I've ever been around, right? He was the coach that would pick kids up from their houses because their parents were too sorry to take them to practice, right? He knew that if he wanted them to come to practice, he'd have to go round them all up. There'd be 8 or 9 kids in the back of his pickup truck coming into the field house, stuff like that. So poor kids find a
Right.
way for influential men to gravitate around them. They do. They do. There's good men out
Yeah.
here. Good men like you, good
Agree.
men like myself, good men like these football coaches. But yeah, so the drinking had gotten out of hand and I tried to reel it in. And then when I went to college, so I graduated high school, I had a scholarship lined up with a school in Mississippi called Mississippi College. Great school, right? Division 2 or 3. None of my friends were going there though. None. So I wanted to go to college where all my friends were going to college, and they were going to the local community college about an hour from where I was living at the time. So I go out there and I walk on, and I worked my ass off, right? Because community college, JUCO in Mississippi is full of D1 athletes. They just have shit grades. That's why they
Yeah.
go to JUCO. They go to JUCO for a year or two, and then they go to university, right? So when I went out there and I started to take my training and stuff serious, and they kind of taught me how to eat, and I ate in the cafeteria with all the other players and stuff. So the food that I was getting, it was actually pretty decent food, right? For the first time, I was getting real nutrition with men who were telling me you need to eat more protein, you need to eat more carbs, etc. And I remember
Yeah.
I blew up. I blew up, man. I'm 6'2". I'm a big guy, and right now, currently, I'm about 282 pounds. So when I was 19 years old and I was at PRC, I was 6'2", about 290, right? And I was stronger than what I am now, but my definition and stuff today is a lot more developed and defined than what I had back then. But it was the same story, Mike. It was go out on Thursday night, Thirsty Thursday with the boys, right? Come back. We had practices and training on Friday, and then you'd go out Friday night, do it again. And I
Mm.
completely shit on an opportunity that I worked my ass off for, right? To
Yeah.
walk onto this team because I had already given up the scholarship and everything I had set up at MC to go to this JUCO to walk on, right? But I did it. I followed through. I made the team. Everything I needed to do, I was doing, but I couldn't let go of the partying. It was at that time, it was completely ingrained in me, into my white trash DNA at that point, right? And so I left. I came back to Florida. I actually came down on spring break from Mississippi back down to Tampa Bay. I met this girl, right? And she was the excuse that I needed to leave Mississippi, leave the football team. So I did. I left. I came back to Florida. I started working. I got with her. Me and her lasted like 6 months. And then I realized after we broke up that I had given away one of the best opportunities that I'll ever have, right? And that shit beat me up for years. Beat me up for
Yeah.
years because I had a great opportunity that I completely sabotaged away. And you know what's
Yeah.
really wild is I didn't have anybody, no adults, my mom, not my dad, because I had met my dad at this point and I knew who my dad was and we were talking and stuff. Nobody told me, Cody, you shouldn't do this, right? You have a great opportunity in front of you, you need to keep going. I really didn't get none of that, outside of my football coach, but from the people who I needed to hear it from, I never heard that,
Yeah.
because it was almost like they were competing with me. Does that make sense? Right?
100%.
Man, like I felt that from people in my
It's their
life,
egos.
yeah, who shouldn't have been competing with me that were family, like, parents. And today, as a grown man, I do things a lot different with my kids. That's all I'll say on that. I do things a lot different, man. So here I am. I'm back in Florida. I start working at UPS. I got a part-time job at UPS. Had no idea what I was going to do. I finished my AA degree, and then I become a UPS driver, and I did this for 10 years. 10 years, 15 hours a day in this truck. And you know
Mm.
what came with that, dude? With I made $100,000 a year from the time I'm 22 years old until I was 31 and I left UPS. And that was not a good amount of money for me to have at that age because
Of
all I
course.
did was sabotage myself into the ground that entire time. And I got married through these years. I had kids. I thought that I was doing all the things that a man is supposed to be doing, right? Winning to me at that time was I made $2,200 this week. I'm going to go get trashed with my friends on Friday night. I'm going to go
Same.
get trashed with my friends on Saturday night. And then Sunday night, I'm going to get ready to go work this week. Right. And I did that on repeat. I was eating fast food 3 or 4 times a day in that truck. And man, I
Mm.
put on so much weight. The bigger I got, the more I cope ate. It was just this repetitive cycle of eat, sleep, work, drink, sabotage. Eat,
Yeah.
sleep, work, drink, sabotage. And I did that for years on years. And then finally I woke up, man, and I'm completely in the gutter, dude. I looked myself in the mirror. At this point, I'm probably like 375 pounds. I'm not the man that I envisioned when I was that 10-year-old boy sleeping on the floor of that trailer, dude. And that shit fucked me up. It rocked me when I realized that, right? I remember being so overweight, telling my son, you need to do your push up because my son is a great baseball player, man. Got all the promise in
Nice.
the world. And I remember looking at him, telling him, you need to eat your vegetables. You need to eat this. You need to do this. You need to do these push ups, right? And here I am, 375 pounds. I couldn't even do a fucking push up myself. I couldn't even do a push up myself. And here I am putting these expectations onto a 8-year old little boy, right? Who's looking to me for guidance, who's looking for me to do all these things and show him the way. And I'm not doing any of that. And man, you talk about coming to a realization that you fucked up. Wow. But in my mind, I knew like for me to change who I was, it was going to take years, years of hard work. And I just
Yeah.
strayed from that. I remember I got my 10-year plaque from UPS and I'm looking at it and I'm wrecked, right? Financially, I'm doing well. Financially, I'm doing well. My wife was a nurse, right? I was a UPS driver. We were making bank. But I'm looking at this plaque and I was looking at everybody else at UPS, all these, old truck drivers and stuff. These guys been there for 40, 50 years. These guys are just as fucked up as I am. All of them, right? And I said, this is it. I got to get out of here. If I do one more year here, I'll be here for the rest of my life. And you know what that means? That means more fast food. That means more 16-hour days in this truck. That means I don't get to live up to the potential that I know that I have.
Yeah.
So that takes us, Mike, that takes us to leaving Florida again, right? I quit UPS 10 years in. Crazy ass move, dude, right? All my friends and family were like, why are you doing this? This is, it's crazy because they didn't have shit to say when I quit college football, right? When I walked away from my dreams, but everybody had an opinion when I quit a job. Everybody had an opinion, right? So I moved to Mississippi. We buy 15 acres during COVID when COVID was popping off. We cleared 10 of the 15 acres. I built a road through this place. I had a big metal shop with two big 14-foot roll up doors, right? You could pull a tractor, right? A tractor trailer right into my shop. I had a 4,000 square foot house up on a hill. But boy, I had to go through hell to get all that. I had to go through hell. So I go back to Mississippi and I am at this point, I'm 29, 30 years old, right up in there. 30, somewhere up in there, man. It was about 5 years ago. We go to Mississippi. Me and my dad reconnect, right? We're reconnecting. He's out here, he's helping me build my house, right? Sold me on, I'm gonna help you build this house. He's a home builder. He built multiple homes. Sold me on, I'm gonna help you build this house. We're gonna live happily ever after, all these things, right? That was the first time that I put my faith and my future into another grown man, right? I
Mm,
put my family's future into somebody else's hands when I should have never let it out of my hands because that's my responsibility, right? So we go out there and me and him last like 5 weeks before we're just at each other's throats, right? I'm talking, we're about to beat the hell out of each other. My brother, his other son is out there. It's not a good situation, man. Screaming, hollering, throwing shit. So I asked them to leave, and they do. They leave, and they don't come back. And my pride at the time wouldn't ask them to come back, right? But dude, when I sat back and I looked at what I was about to embark on by myself, I never built a house before. You know what I'm saying? I've done a lot of different things, remodeled bathrooms, stuff like that, but the project that I had started, that I had already sunk every dollar that I've ever made into, man, it was overwhelming. It was overwhelming. I had zero support, I had zero help, and I had an option. I'm also 400 pounds. That shit with my dad is what sent my alcohol abuse to the next level, right?
yeah.
Because all that trauma of not having a dad growing up and dealing with all the things that I was dealing with, it all came back to me at 30 years old, right? At 400 pounds, out there on that 15 acres by myself. My wife is working, my kids are at school, and in my mind, I know we're fucked, right? I know that there's no way I'm going to be able to do all this, finish this place. We don't have the money. I don't have any help. I'm not
Mm,
qualified to be out here doing this. And I'm sitting in my pickup truck, man. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. The only thing out on this property is a road and then the slab of my house. The slab is done. That's it, right? And I'm sitting there, and Captain Morgan was my drink of choice. And I got to the point, you know how you take a shot and it burns? Brother, I
mm,
didn't have that burn no more. I drank
mm.
that burn away. I know you know what I'm talking about. When you drink so much that when you drink that bottle, it's like water going down, right? You can't even taste alcohol in this anymore. That's where I was. That to me,
Yeah.
when you can't taste alcohol anymore, you're an alcoholic and you got a serious
Yep.
problem. Yep.
Yep.
So it's 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm sitting out there by myself, like you said, isolated. And I was isolated. I remember I worked out there every day for 6 weeks, right, by myself. I didn't even see a single person. I just worked out there all day doing whatever I could do by myself. But I'm sitting in my truck that morning
Yeah.
and I had my 9 millimeter. I'm always strapped, dude. I'm from the southeast, man. Right? I'm concealed carry permit guy, and I had my pistol. I'm drunk, and I just started thinking about all the mistakes that I've made. Right? The problems with me and my wife, the problems with me and my kids. I'm not the dad I wanted to be. My personal dad hates me, right? I'm not a good son, I'm not a good brother. Just every victim mentality thought that you could have was running through my head all at the same exact time. So I said, fuck it, man. I pulled my gun out. I hit that, I cocked it back and I put it in my mouth. And when I
Mm.
put that gun in my mouth, Mike, it was like my entire world flashed before my eyes. You know, I've heard that a million times, right? People say your whole world flashes before your eyes, but man, I'm going to tell you, it was like a movie played in front of my face instantly. I saw my kids, I saw my wedding, right? I saw the good things that I've done in my life compared to all the negative thoughts that I had. It's really a weird, surreal feeling because my mind and my body was not thinking of these things. But when I put that gun in my mouth, it was like somebody dropped this movie right in front of my face and said, "Son, you need to hold up what you're doing here." Right?
God,
I remember sitting there crying my eyes out, man, and just praying to God, please get me out of this truck. If you get me out of this truck right now, I'll change everything. I'll change everything. I'll do better. I'll figure out a way to get us out of this situation, because like I said, man, we had run out of money out there. I had no home built. Like all these things, just this mountain of hell that I had to climb. But I told God, if you get me out of this truck and get this gun out of my face, I'll figure out how to climb this mountain. And I did, man. I got out of the truck that day. And I remember I went home and I just dropped down. Like when my wife came home from work that night, I just dropped down on my knees, dude, like a fucking 400-pound baby, right? Cried, grabbed her by her legs. She's standing up over top of me. And I just cried. And honestly, she was, she tried to show me support, but man, we were in such a bad situation that she really had to, because she was the only one that had a job at that point, right? So I was building our house and building our place, and we were in like this, we were living in this other house. One of my friends owned this house we were living in while I was building my house. So she had her own set of things that she had to deal with to hold up her end of the deal, right?
sure.
And I remember acknowledging that. And like I said, she definitely showed me support where I needed it, but also at the same time, it was very clear that my wife can't fix this for me, right? And that at that moment, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for my partner to try to step up and fix that, and that was just more of that victim mentality, right? In a different way, right?
The
But
bitch in you.
the bitch in me, man. The bitch in me was just, it was out of control, dude. It was out of control. So I wake up the next day and I was so fucking fat, dude, that I couldn't even go to the gym, right? I tried to go to the gym. I couldn't even train, dude. I couldn't even do two push ups back to back. I was fucking
Uh,
wrecked.
yeah,
I just started walking. I started walking up and down. I built the road up to the house, like I told you, and it was just that and the slab, right? So while
yeah.
I was working out there, I was getting shitloads of steps, but I just walked up and down this road, man, all day long while I was working. And I did this and I lost like 50 pounds in 30 days, right? So I went from
Wow.
400 down to about 350. Now I'm manageable, right? Now I can go to the gym, you know, so I started going to the gym, Mike, and I shit you not, dude. I went to the gym 300 days in a row. 300 days in a row, every single day, dude, without missing a day. And there were days where I would go to the gym 2 or 3 times because
Oh
once it
yeah.
started to feel, it's almost like you go to the hospital, right? And they finally give you the medicine that you need and you feel it working. And I became addicted to the feeling that I was feeling, right? I'm losing weight. I started to see results in my body, right? I started to get some mental clarity back, and I started to acknowledge all these things along the way. And man, it made the world a difference for me. I started to believe in myself. I started to look at that place as an opportunity instead of a mountain, right? I
Right.
started to tell myself, if you can fucking finish this place, right? There's nothing you can't do. This is the place that built me. This was the biggest accomplishment that I've ever done in my life. Was I was out there for 2 years, man, all day every day, and I spent the majority of that by myself. And I went through a lot of shit out there, man, like outside of losing weight and dealing with trauma and all that stuff, right? Dude, I got robbed. I brought a guy that I knew from high school out there to give me an estimate. He was a handyman, right? We kind of reconnected. This guy robbed me fucking blind.
Jeez.
I had two AC units in my garage, but I didn't have garage doors up yet, right? But I had AC units that I needed installed, different types of things, man. And he comes out there. I come out there the next day, all my shit's gone. $10,000 in the outside part of AC units gone. All my ladders are gone. All my power tools are gone. All this shit, dude. Right?
Wow.
So I went through that and I knew who did it. Like it couldn't have been more obvious who did it, right? And of
Right.
course he was like, "No, I didn't do that, blah blah blah, dude." So I outsmarted this fucking guy. I actually had him on phone admitting what he did. I had a cop at my house listening to this call while he was admitting that he stole all my shit, right? So I was able to recover like my AC units and my ladders and stuff. I didn't get everything back, but that was one thing I had to go through. Then, about a year after that, right? At this point, I'm in damn good shape, bro. I lost 180 pounds in a year, 12
Mm.
months. I'm going to tell you right now, for nobody who's
It's
ever,
incredible.
how much do you weigh?
Right now, 185.
Yeah, it's like cutting you out of my body, right?
Yeah.
Like if I was carrying you on my back and then you just got off, right?
Yeah.
So I
Wow.
started to get some of my athleticism back. I started to get some of that swag back, right? Like when I was at the gym, I'd start hitting the bag and stuff. Right? So I started to feel like a man again.
Yeah.
I got my balls back. You know what I'm saying? I got my
Oh,
balls
yeah.
back. And then we're out there at the place one day. I've got a plumber out there and he's got some apprentice with him. And all the sheetrock inside of my house was not up yet, right? So all my PEX lines and everything, all the plumbing easily accessible from inside of the home, right? This apprentice, he's fucked up on pills or something, man. Cuts a hole in the outside of my house and my siding, my brand new siding, dude. Cuts a hole in the outside of my house to get to the plumbing on the inside. I'm like, hey, man, why didn't you just fucking walk inside where there's no sheetrock, where all the plumbing's exposed inside of the walls, right? This guy gets up and starts talking shit to me and swings on me. And as he stands up, because he's kind of crouched down, as he stands up, I step back to give him room to stand up. Well, as I step back, he swung on me. And when I tell you, dude, he missed me just barely. And it clicked what had just happened, dude. And I fucking went into straight apex predator mode, dude. I beat the hell out of this guy out there. And
Hmm.
I only bring this up because that moment I realized what I had gained back, right? I gained the ability to defend myself back.
Yeah.
And seeing men don't understand when they're 400 pounds. Dude, there's a lot of really big, morbidly obese people out here. And if anybody's listening to this, I'm going to tell them flat out, you cannot defend yourself. You cannot defend your family, right? In that moment when I was tussling with that guy, I realized what I had really and truthfully accomplished. I became a man again. So I got him out of there. That was a real crazy situation, but got him out of there, man. And throughout the rest of that 2 years, I'm just grinding. We finished the house, man. I ended up being able to finance another loan to finish the house, right? By the skin of my teeth, dude. I remember going into the bank and having a conversation similar to this with the guy that worked at the bank. He only gave me the loan because he believed in me and he knew just talking to me through it was a small bank in Mississippi. It wasn't like Bank of America or something. It was a relationship bank and they gave me the loan, man, to finish the place. And we did. I finished it. Absolute beautiful place. I thought I finally had everything I wanted. I lost 180 pounds. I'm in great shape. I went from 400 down to like 225, dude. I'm peeled. I got six pack abs, right? I started hitting the gym and really started building muscle and stuff again. And I thought I was good to go, Mike. I thought that, I got this big ass mansion and I got all these things. And I realized that all that shit doesn't mean nothing. Doesn't mean anything, right?
Yep. Nothing.
That big ass house is nothing but slavery. You become a slave to places like that, right?
It's your ego.
Yeah, your ego. That's all this was. Like it was like living in my ego. That house and that place was just validation that I sought for to prove to everybody, you shit on me, but here I am. I'm better than you, right? Because
Yeah.
I have this and you don't. And man, it was a wrong attitude. It was the wrong way to look at things. But like I said, I realized that this just didn't do it for me, right? It didn't do it for me. I still felt empty. I felt like there was something missing and everything was better. We were living in the house, right? Like I had made it through attempted suicide. You know what I'm saying? Like I thought finally this was the reward. And now looking back, it wasn't. It was still part of the journey, right? And I'm still on the journey today, but I understand that the journey is the reward now. It's not the destination.
Uh,
It's
yeah.
the journey. It's the journey. So we decide, you know what? We're going to sell this place and we're going to move back to Florida and I'm going to start a business, right? I started online fitness coaching while I was in Mississippi.
Yeah.
I helped a client lose 200 pounds my first year online fitness coaching. He lost 200 pounds in a year. His
Wow.
name's Paul, absolute savage, man. He went from like 470 pounds down to like 260, something like that.
He's still doing good now?
Yeah, he's doing good, man. He's a business owner.
Good.
He's doing well. He's actually like a mindset guy, posts a lot of stuff, man. I
Good.
kind of taught him how to work his social medias and stuff like that, kind of got in the game a little bit, right? But I became addicted to helping people crawl out of that fucking pit.
Yeah, me
Similar to
too.
what you are right now, right? I started to feel some of the purpose that I wasn't getting from this big ass house and all these four-wheelers and side by sides and just all this garbage, right? All the consumption mechanisms, right? That's all those things are. And I started to find purpose in helping people understand that they're worth more than what they're giving themselves, right? So I knew that when we got back to Florida, I was really going to lock in on this and really try to blow this fitness coaching thing up, right? Try to get in the space. I started making content after content, just really getting who I was out there for the world to see. I went viral on a couple of transformation pieces, kind of like what you shared this morning, right? And I
Yep.
woke up one day, dude, and I had all these DMs. I had all these messages from all these people who were just struggling, who just wanted to talk and have conversations, right? I remember I would be at
Yeah.
the gym, dude. I used to go to the gym at like 5 o'clock in the morning, similar to you. And I would be, yeah, I would set my alarm for 4 a.m., but I was so fucking excited to go to the gym. I'd be up at 3, right? Like it
Right.
didn't even matter. I was obsessed with going to the gym and getting better at all costs. That was the main focus of my life. And so once you start doing that, once you start helping other people fill the puzzle pieces that they're looking for, it kind of fills your cup. It held me accountable, gave me a reason to keep going, right? So we got back to Florida. I got my real estate license. I also got into real estate. So I was doing real estate, online coaching, just a whole slew of different things. I got into direct sales, door knocking to build my sales skills, right?
Yeah.
I knocked doors for like a year while I was doing real estate and online coaching and all these things. And I built that foundational piece of what Flex is. I built that foundational piece, right? So that's where we are today, man. I'm just super excited to be here. I'm blessed to be alive, right? I know that I have gifts. You have gifts. We all have gifts from God. We all have gifts from God. And I'm going to do whatever I can do to continue to use these gifts to help people, to help myself, to help my family, right? Obviously. But it's not just about me. It's not just about me. We're all connected. Me and you are connected on this call. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And just like you're connected with the people that you help in your message and your morning routines and all the things that you do, your sober groups and all those things, right? Helping people become a better version of themselves, to me, that like there's no more honoring of God than that right there, right? Think about it from a fatherly perspective. If you had a son and he locked in on helping your other son grow and elevate, right? You would really respect and appreciate that leadership from your first son, right? I view the same thing with the way that God looks at people who help other people become that better version of themselves, right? Get out of the fast food, start eating whole foods, get off the bottle, stop smoking whatever the hell you're smoking, shooting up whatever you're shooting up, all those different things, man. So, I got a
Yeah.
lot of respect for what you do and the message that you push.
I appreciate that. So where did your vision come from for Flex? How did that come
So,
about?
yeah, so I was on a real estate team and I remember I did my first deal and I gave half of my commission check to the team that I was on, right? That's
Ouch.
how yeah,
The
that's how
fuck
real
is
estate
that?
works, man. It's garbage. It's garbage.
It's like paying taxes.
Yeah, you're paying taxes too. You're giving
Right.
50% of your check to the team owner and then you're paying taxes, dude. You don't get shit.
God.
It's trash. It's
It's
absolute
terrible.
trash. And see, and when I was in the online coaching space, I realized that, when you sell a business system to somebody, right? Like when you go to one of these fitness influencers, right? And they help you start your business, they're selling you a blueprint, a business blueprint, right? And people are paying $10,000, $15,000 from that for that in that online space. But that's a product, right? So when I was looking at real estate agents, I knew that they needed a product to sell alongside of real estate, right? You cannot rely on one income stream in real estate. You cannot. So what we did with Flex was we created this business system and it plugs into an independent agent's business. So all of our realtors are independent agents and they operate their own business. And what we do basically is we plug Flex into their business, and these two businesses run side by side. So that agent is still operating their regular real estate business, but they also have a product to sell to other realtors. And what that product is coaching, right? I've got real estate coaches. We charge 10% compared to the 50% that they pay to these teams, right? So if you're an agent, right off the bat, you're looking at that like, shit, I'm only going to pay 10% for this coaching and all the same things that I'm currently getting on the team that I'm paying 50% for over here. So that kind of piques their interest and gets them looking at Flex. But what we created on the backside, the product, right, of being able to bring people into the Flex network, that business system that we set them up with, every agent that they bring in, we have a passive revenue payout structure, right? So let's say you're a real estate agent, you're doing 10, 15 transactions a year, right? You have a cap on how much business you can do. There's only so many hours in a day, right? For you to be hustling, getting clients for buyers and sellers. But if you were earning off of other agents that you brought in the Flex network, you were earning passive revenue, you could scale down your active earned income, which is the highest tax bracket as well, as you build that passive revenue, right? So what we're seeing now is these agents, they're calling it built-in retirement, right? Because I can earn off passive revenue off of other agents as they come in, and it pulls me out of real estate entirely after I hit a certain point, which is
Mm.
fantastic, right? That's a hell of a product to sell. You're saving agents thousands of dollars up front, by bringing them into Flex because their commission goes from 50% to 10%. They keep 90% of their money, whereas they were only keeping 50 or 40% before. That's enough right there in itself to get people in. But
Yeah.
then when they realize, like, so let's say you're an agent and you're paying 10% into Flex when you close a deal. If you bring one agent in, you're recouping 8% of that 10%. If you bring two agents in, now you're making pure profit off the deals that they close. If you bring 10 agents in, now you're hitting me up. Hey, Cody, I'm getting really close to breaking out of like my passive revenue is high enough to where I can break out of this active earned income stream, right? 20 agents and you're done. Now you're a full-time pushing the Flex network. You're not hustling for clients, buys and sells anymore, right? You're just earning off your passive revenue downline and you're continuing to build that. And what's happening is these agents are so heavily incentivized to recruit that they're recruiting agents and bringing them into Flex. It's the network effect, the snowball effect, and I don't have to do all the recruiting, right? It's absolutely
I would think
fantastic.
that every agent would want to bring, like, you bring in one agent,
Right.
they understand the system. Now they want to bring in other agents. And
Right,
it's like
absolutely.
a big trickle effect.
Because we decentralized real estate. So real estate is centralized, meaning that there's gatekeepers all over real estate. The big
Hmm.
dogs are all the gatekeepers. When an
Hmm.
agent does a deal, they give half of their money to the gatekeeper at the top. That's what we're crushing, right? Because when an agent in Flex pays their 10%, it goes to other agents. Flex only makes 1% off of these agents' deals compared to the 50% that the team that they were used to be on took from them. Right, right. So it's
Hmm.
agent first, and you know what's really cool about it is we're multi-industry. It's not just real estate. We're doing the same thing for these fitness coaches. They get to come in and into this business system with Flex, right? Compared to paying 10 or 15 grand from an influencer, now you can come to an actual company. We've got back end tech support. I've got business professionals all over this network, right? We have coaches that help them start their online coaching business, all these different things. And it's coming from a corporate entity and not some random ass dude that you met on the internet. You know what I'm saying? So that's
Yep.
really helpful. We set these online coaches up with a CRM, like a client management system, all the same things that we see. Real estate uses CRMs. We use client management systems. And we took that and we passed that over into fitness, right? Because if you're in sales, you absolutely should be using some type of client management system, right? But they have the same opportunity to bring people, other fitness coaches into the Flex network and earn that passive revenue off of what the deals that they close, right? So eventually, like I talked to a fitness coach the other day, loaded with clients, super successful in the industry. I'm not going to name him, but he's burnt out, completely burnt out, always making content. You know why? Because he's making boatloads of money from his clients, but he's not earning passive revenue off of any other coaches, right? That's a problem. We call it real time retirement. You know what I'm saying? You get to still operate your business, you become a partner of Flex, but now you can bring other coaches into the network underneath you, earn passive revenue as you scale up that passive revenue, which is infinitely scalable because of this business model. Now you can pull back and start decreasing your active earned income. Same concept. I've got a transportation broker in California. I'm trying to work out a deal right now. We're going to start a logistics vertical, right? I've got another guy who does AI, does a lot of different AI business setups and stuff. We're going to start a vertical with him. So Flex is a network, and we operate these industries on top of this network, right? The structure is the same. The passive revenue payout system is the same for every industry, but this is infinitely scalable. It's not going to stop. It's just a matter of
Hmm.
tapping into these other industries, right? So super excited about it, man.
How long have you guys been up and running?
We started January 1st, right? So it
Nice.
took me about 5 months to get everything set up, right? I had to go get a real estate attorney because this is so profound that I had to make sure that we were legally compliant. You know what I'm saying? I had to make
Sure.
sure that we weren't breaking any laws because what we just created here, number one, is a new category of business. Nothing like this exists, right? But number two, we created infinitely scalable passive revenue that restructures everybody's businesses. There's almost no entry barrier, right? And that's because Flex can operate on that 1% margin, right? When an agent brings another agent into the network and they sell that blueprint, they make 80% of that blueprint payment, right? So the agents are always making 80 to 90% of all the revenue that they do and earn, compared to in sales, like when I was in direct door sales, it was reversed, right? If I sold a product, I got 20%. The guy who made the product got 80%. At Flex, we flipped it. They're selling our products, but they're making all the money, right? We're operating on a small margin because it's meant for scalability. We're going to make money on the back end when volume is high. And that's the way I want it. That's the decentralized effect, right? Because the agents are making all the money. Therefore, they're bringing in more agents. Our retention is through the roof. If you bring an agent, for example, if you're an agent on a team and you're paying 50% into that team, you can leave whenever you want to, right? There ain't shit keeping you there. You're not making passive revenue. You're not like, you can just say, I don't want to pay 50% anymore and leave. But when you come into Flex, you're only paying 10%, but you're building real passive revenue that pays you long term. So why would you leave that? Who's leaving that? Nobody. And what we do is we plug Flex into these other businesses, right? And then it adds retention for all their agents and stuff that they already currently have. Their agents are happier, their agents are paying less, their agents are making more. We turn on your team, you have one revenue stream. When you're an agent and you come into Flex, you now have four revenue streams, right? That's profound. We're leveraging and monetizing things that agents have never seen leveraged and monetized before, right? And I think that for me, it was just a combination of a bunch of different things. I understand the real estate industry, I understand the online fitness coaching space, but where I really got them, Mike, was I understand blockchain and digital assets, right? I understand decentralization. I understand the network effect. And that's what we built here, right? So as these traditional teams slowly start to leak their agents into Flex and Flex grows, we're going to replace the traditional teams that sit underneath these brokerages with revenue networks, right? We're the world's first agent owned revenue network.
I love it.
It's a lot, man. I know it's a lot. I know it's a lot.
It's now, but it's you're a pioneer in the industry, and that's why I wanted to sit down with you because, even though you've only been in the game, 5 months, it
Not
seems like,
even, not even. Yeah. So we launched on January 1st. I mean, and
yeah,
we're halfway through April, so we're at 3.5 months here, and we've 15x'd the size of this network in the last 3.5 months.
yeah, I'm going to be really curious to see where you guys are at in the next 6 months to a year, 2 years.
Oh
You're
yeah,
just going
and
to
I
be,
tell everybody, like when I go on these calls with these agents, I tell them, I was like, look, we're not going to grow because I said so. We're going to grow because the math and the business model says so, right? Dude, I have an agent who came from another team, and I already knew all these things were going to happen, right? When I put all this together, she came from another team. She's not in Tampa Bay. She's in Port St. Lucie. We got one agent off this team. We're absorbing this entire team. They're all leaving and coming into Flex right now. If I can get one agent off your team to come into Flex, your team is fucking cooked. It's cooked, bro. So,
yeah,
what I would encourage these team owners, I hope somebody hears this, have a conversation with me, right? Why don't you bring your entire team into Flex instead of losing agent after agent after agent, right? Because if the
yeah,
team owner brings their team into Flex, they can still monetize and retain their agents. Everything actually gets better for them, right? If you're a team
right,
owner right now, you're paying a lot of overhead costs, brick and mortar costs, subscription costs, different things for your agents. You have a lot of compliance, legal issues that you have to make sure you maintain. When you bring your team into Flex, all your agents become independent agents, right? So now they're not repping your brand anymore. They get to build their own brands. They love that.
I love it. If
They
you're if
love
you're
that.
if you're a real entrepreneur at heart, I mean, it's a no brainer.
It's a
It really
no-brainer, Mike.
is.
That's exactly what I tell them. Like nobody gets into real estate to build somebody else's fucking brand, right?
Yeah.
Flex runs parallel with their brand. Every time I post an agent, I post their brand, right? There might be a Flex logo on there too because they're a partner in the network, but this is their business. Every
Yeah.
transaction that they do builds their business.
Love that.
If you're on a team, every transaction that you do builds the team's business,
Yeah.
right?
You're a slave. You're a slave.
You're a slave, bro. And then they're taking half of your money too. Fuck that. It's over with for them, man. And and I've been approached. I've got team owners stalking all of my content, right? I've got like
I
they're
bet.
all around me right now, dude, like sharks in the water. And you know what? And I just want to say
Yo, you're gonna
publicly,
have a lot of people in Jersey hitting you up too.
dude, I'm gonna have people. And what's really cool, man, I want to add this on here too because I want the agents to know. I make reels and stuff all the time, but
Yeah.
so all the vendors that we use, right, in Tampa Bay, we started what's called a realtor funding pool. And this we're the first one like this, man. All the vendors like the mortgage lender, the roofing company, our contractors, our real estate photographer, our building inspector. I've got partnerships set up with all these vendors where they pay monthly contributions into our realtor funding pool, right? So when our agents close a deal like they're going to, right? They use these particular vendors and then they get paid. We do quarterly distributions from this real estate funding pool. Well, that's just in Tampa Bay. So now we're expanding into Port St. Lucie because we're all online, we're digital, right? We have a couple in-person meetings, right? But those are just camaraderie building meetings. They're not mandatory. If you can't make it because you're 2 hours away, we understand, right?
Right.
But all these vendors pumping into this realtor funding pool, now that we're in Port St. Lucie, I can create that same thing there. They're going to be pumped. The vendors from that area are going to be pumping into that real estate funding pool. Mike, this is infinitely scalable across the country and across the
I
world,
can
to be
see
honest
that.
with you. But we got to get to
Yeah.
that point.
Yeah. Um, give me 2 minutes, man. I'm gonna take a quick bathroom break here,
Yeah, go ahead, brother. Go
and
ahead,
then
man.
we're gonna get into a couple questions, some real talk questions.
Okay.
I'll be right back. All right, brother. I appreciate you hanging in there.
Oh, you're
Fortunately
good,
for
man.
fortunately for me, they got a Mr. Bob right where I'm at here, so it works out well. But being that this is MTF Real Talks, first question I got for you, man, and I try to when I formulate these questions, I think about how they're gonna I know you're big on impact, how they're gonna impact and help other men that are struggling like we once were. Why do most men stay stuck even when they know what to do?
I think that society has these guys brainwashed. I really
Agreed.
do. I really do. And I say that from personal experience, right? Dude, I thought that I was a good man. I thought that I was a strong man, right? But that's only because you're basing that off of what society's telling you to base that off of. You know what I'm saying? Like you're basing that off of what mainstream media tells you is a good man. You're dude, I'm a Christian through and through, right? And there are things that I don't believe in, right? I don't believe in abortions, for example. I don't believe in killing babies. It's just not my thing,
Hmm.
right? It's
Yeah.
it's something that I'm never going to align with. And but you know what, man? There was a time in my life where I started to think, you know what? Maybe it's not that bad. Maybe it's okay, right? And when I said that I got my balls back, because I did, I got my balls back, right? Politically, spiritually, emotionally, right? I'm not scared to tell people what I stand for, but I
Yeah.
was. I was. And I
Me
think
too.
that I think that when men get stuck, it's because they're afraid of showing the world who they really are and what they
Yeah.
really feel inside. And then what happens is you have a bunch of silent men, and then you have a society like what we have today. It's fucking wrecked,
Yeah.
right?
No, I couldn't agree more. Do you think that someone can succeed without discipline, or is that a lie?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Discipline is doing the things that you don't want to do, right?
Hmm.
Like, and it doesn't just include the gym, right? Like I work with a lot of business owners, online business owners right now, especially like these realtors, for example. And I try to explain to them that you guys have to make content when you don't want to make content, right? We're not
Yes.
talking about going to the gym and doing fucking burpees, right? We're talking about sitting down at your desk at 8 o'clock at night, right? When you're tired and you just want to, you know, have a glass of wine and kick back and watch Netflix, but you know you got to do shit for tomorrow. That's discipline, right? Getting up at 5 when you're supposed to get up at 5 instead of sleeping until 6 and skipping your workout, that's discipline, right? I wouldn't be who I am today had I not found discipline in my life. I eat only whole foods. I go to the gym. I train 5, 6 days a week, right? Today's a rest day for me. I still to this day struggle on my rest days because my self worth is still tied to how hard am I going today, right? On days where I don't go hard, I feel like shit, Mike. I feel like
Yep.
shit. And that's because I'm a performance-based individual. So think about how I used to feel. No, you know I'm a performance-based guy now. Think about what I used to think about myself when I looked in the mirror and I was 400 pounds, right? I fucking hated myself, Mike. I hated it because I was still a performance-based individual then. Dude, brother, I worked 70 hours a week for 10 years straight, right? But that wasn't the work I needed to be doing, right? It was part of it. But if you work so much at your 9 to 5 that you don't have time to meal prep, you don't have time to go to the gym, you don't have time to fucking train your kids and cook for them. That was one thing, dude. Like getting up and giving your kids cereal and Pop Tarts for breakfast because you fucking slept in, that's trash.
Yeah.
That's trash. Get up and cook that kid some eggs, man. You know what I'm
No
saying?
doubt.
Get up and slice up that fucking avocado and that cantaloupe, right? I do those things every day now. That's discipline. So if somebody hears your question, is discipline necessary? If you don't have discipline, you're not just killing yourself, you're killing your kids, you're killing your future, you're killing your fucking grandkids' future by not having
That's a
discipline
fact.
today.
How much of a problem do you think pornography is for men in our country?
Oh, it's huge. I struggled with
Yeah.
it for years. I
Yeah.
just now over and I'm being transparent, man. I
Yeah.
just now over the last couple years was really able to get rid of pornography.
Yeah.
And you talk about struggling in your marriage, right? When you're just railing them out to porn all day, dude, you don't want to have sex with your wife. And seeing
Yeah.
what you come to
Can't
find out
connect.
is that connection's not there, right? When you're not actively having sex with your spouse, your connection starts to fade, right? You start seeking dopamine from that porn instead of with your wife. You know, that's a fun moment that you're supposed to share with a real person in real life, right? And
Yep.
that temporary dopamine from porn, it's killing us. In my opinion, porn and fast food, dude, are fucking killing us. Killing us.
Agreed.
Human DNA and McDonald's, absolutely insane, bro. That was it. That was
Couldn't agree more, man.
how somebody can read that and see that and still take their
And
kids to
still
McDonald's.
go. I
Blows
drove
my
past the
fucking
other
mind,
day
dude.
at
Crazy.
lunchtime. There's a long line. I'm like, are you people fucking retarded?
Retarded, man. Retarded. And
It's
you know what?
it's
They're not
just
retarded. They're not retarded. They're brainwashed. They're brainwashed.
Well, there's a lot of things going on. Lack of impulse control. They're just they're addicted to the wrong things. But this here is a question for people that are, with the MTF sober group on Facebook. A lot of people enter the group at rock bottom. They're looking for that, hoping for that place where they get the spark that they need because they don't have anything. So
Right.
if someone joined the group today, they're at complete rock bottom like you were. Where should they begin today?
Today. So if they came in here this morning and they're like, "What can I do today that will change my life?" I'll tell you, number one, no fast food, right?
Hmm.
That's the easy, especially like my fitness clients and stuff. That's the easiest thing that we can change, right? Just
Yeah.
make the conscious effort and decision and seeing the problem is the chemicals that they put in this food is why you want this food because you are chemically addicted to McDonald's. You're chemically addicted to Taco Bell, all these different things, man. Get rid of the fast food. Number two, I'm sure you tell them this, the booze has to go. The booze has to go. I don't give
Yeah.
a damn what you have to do. Dude, when I was going through my shift, I got rid of everything that wasn't serving me. I took the fucking TV out of my bedroom. I took the TV out of the living room. I stopped listening to country music. You know why? I loved country music, man. But every country song is about what? Drinking
Booze.
booze, hanging out at the
Yeah.
bar, doing this, doing that. I couldn't deal with that shit no more, man. It went
Yeah.
straight to hardcore rap, and I like punk rock, right? Because that's
Right.
what I can listen to and relate to in the gym. Get your mind right,
Same.
right? Like you kind
Yeah.
of hop into that persona, like I'm ready to grind. But when I'm listening to fucking Toby Keith, Red Solo Cup with the boys, what do you think you're going to be doing? Right. So
Right.
that is, so if somebody coming in, right, no fast food, think about your identity and who you want to be, right? What would that person do? I had cultivated in my mind an identity of the man I wanted to be, and I'm still not there yet. I'm still not there yet. I
Yeah.
still struggle with things. You still do. We all do, right? We're only human. I'm not
Yeah.
God. I'm just a man, right? But the power of God lives in me. So that would be the third thing that I would tell them. When you start taking God seriously, right? And you finally understand Jesus and just exactly what Jesus really is, that sacrificial lamb. And Mike, you have kids? You have kids, Mike?
No, we don't.
No. Well, I would imagine that if you had a son, you wouldn't sacrifice him for fucking anybody, right? Let's be
That's
real.
true.
I wouldn't sacrifice my son for you or you or you. I will let all of you die before I sacrifice my son. Facts. And
Yeah.
I expect any father to feel that way. God sent his only son to die for everyone, and he died in the most profound, disgusting way that you can think of. And now, when you understand that the gift that life is, now you can really take that. Like I tell myself all the time, Jesus was not tortured and beat to death on that cross so I can fucking sabotage my life into the ground. I'm not here on earth so that I can work a 9 to 5 and pay my mortgage. I'm worth more than that. Jesus didn't die for me to sit around and watch Netflix for 20 years, right?
Preach.
Right. So somebody coming into your group, those would be the things I would tell them to lock in on, right? Get rid of the substance, whatever you're
They
doing.
got to surrender first to God.
Surrender.
That's
Surrender.
first and
Realize
foremost.
that you cannot do this by yourself. You know what's funny, man, is the most disciplined badass men that I meet, right? There's been multiple others on this journey, right? You start to meet guys, you're like, man, this guy right here, this is a solid dude. Every single guy that I meet has the deepest, most utmost respect for God, right? Not just Christians, right? I know some Muslims who are super locked into their faith, who train
Same.
hard, who fucking grind hard, but they pray hard and they give gratitude, right? Those things are so important. So, like you said, surrender. And when you surrender and you realize I'm an anomaly, right? Think about this. Tell your guy in your group, You're a 1 in a billion chance. Do you realize that? You had to have generations of DNA aligning over hundreds of years for you to become who you are today, for you to be born, right? Think of all the people that had to meet each other, your great grandparents, your great, all the way up through your
Right.
bloodline, all the shit that had to happen for you to be alive today. It's insane, dude. It's insane. Scientists say that it's 1 in billions, right? So for somebody to really take that with a grain of salt and really buy into that, now you can get rid of the fast food. Now you can get rid of the alcohol, right? Because you know you're worth more than this.
100%. No, that's a great point. And, kind of going back to what you were saying earlier about people putting out content, and how important it is, especially if they're in sales, to build their own personal brand and to get people to really just know who they are as a person, what they stand for. Um, Putting out content, I think a lot of people struggle with it because they're so fucking concerned with what everyone else is thinking about them and
Facts.
how they're gonna talk about them in the office, and especially if their content's good. If you can speak well, you can articulate, you're somewhat of an attractive person, you dress well, you carry yourself well, people are going to hate you.
Right.
And that's what people have to understand. You have to have the discipline in yourself and build yourself internally so that you can withstand the hate from people that hate themselves. Let's be
That's right.
honest.
That's right.
Because no anyone that loves themselves, that's doing things, that's really trying to make it, they're not trying to pull anyone else down. They're lifting everyone up
Right.
that they
Right.
come into contact with. But I know a lot of people, and I'm leading into this question here because I know a lot of people that tried content and quit because they didn't go viral, they didn't get enough likes, it didn't take off as fast as they thought it would. So they quit, right? And just like they quit on their fitness program, they quit on their job, they quit on their career, whatever. If you could give one message to that dude out there who maybe is about to quit or he quit, what would you tell him based on everything you've been through and where you're currently at right now?
So you're absolutely right. There's a lot of haters out here. And the better you get, the more haters you're going to have, right? The
Right,
better your content gets, the better you look, right? I'll tell that guy though, number one, all the things that you're looking for, right? Like you said, if you're an attractive guy, if you speak well and you articulate well, these are all skills, man. You've never seen an unattractive person that was in shape, right? In shape people are attractive. That's all there
right.
is to it. There's nothing that you can't fix to garner those skills, right? Dude, I have not always been able to do this. You have probably not always been able to do this. You had
Ooh,
to
my
work.
biggest fear 6 years
Yeah,
ago.
you had to work to get
Steps
to
and
this
reps,
point.
Playboy.
That's
That's what I
right.
tell people. Steps and reps.
Steps and reps, baby. And I'll say this also. You think that they hate you for who you are? Look how bad they hated Jesus, the perfect man.
That's right.
So if they hated Jesus, why would I give a fuck if they hated me? Because they're
That's right.
so ignorant that they hated the perfect man. Of course they're going to
Yeah.
hate me. I'm not perfect at all. And that's
Yeah.
the way I look at this, right? I don't care what people think about me, dude. I don't care about, like, you have to come outside of that comfort zone, right? But the thing is you could cure cancer tomorrow and somebody's going to hate on you for it. And that's a fact, right? You're not always going to check everybody's boxes. But as long as you're checking your boxes, their boxes don't matter. Their boxes don't matter. So that's what I would tell that individual who's about to quit. Let them hate. To me, the haters are just a sign that I'm moving in the right direction.
That's right. Well, look, man, I know you're a busy dude. I really appreciate you taking the time today to sit down. You're officially the first guest on here on MTF Talks.
And that's an
And
honor.
I
Thank you for
want
that.
to absolutely, man. Like I said, I'm a big fan of yours, big supporter of everything you're doing. I've been
Likewise.
following your journey for years. Your new content, man, and you're just taking it to a whole nother level. And I love seeing that because I like seeing people start out and they're not so good. and then they just keep getting better and better and better. And next thing you
Right.
know, man, like you're starting a business that's going to revolutionize industries. If you would have quit on yourself, you had numerous opportunities, but you never fucking quit, and that's why you're the man you are today.
Right.
Um,
And I think a lot of people when they quit, they quit on more than just their industry, right? Those are the guys who kill themselves. And God, I'm always going to have a soft spot in my heart for this, right? And I wanted to add this in before we get off here.
yeah,
I almost shot myself 4.5 years ago. I baptized my kids
bless.
a year ago, right? So think about that. Think about had I pulled that trigger, there'd be no flex. My kids wouldn't be baptized. My kids would probably be absolutely traumatized, right? So if you're going to quit, it doesn't just start with your industry. Quitting is contagious and it will infect every other part of your life too, right? So and that's how I was with college football. And that shit still stings me to this day, right?
Yeah,
My son wants to play college baseball bad. He talks about it all the time. And I'm going to be the support system for him that I needed, that I should have had when I was trying to chase those dreams, right?
yeah,
But you can only lead by example. Telling your son not to quit is not enough. You have to show him, I'm going to show you how to not quit. I'm going to show you how to show up every single day, right? And that's when it'll click for whatever you're trying to do. Lead by example, lead from the front. I used to look at leaders, Mike, and I would be envious. Everybody wants to be the leader, but that's only because they don't understand what being a leader really is. You have to work harder than everybody else, right? There's no days off. There's no it's like playing offensive line, dude. You score a touchdown, offensive linemen don't get no love, but you did all the fucking work, right? You opened up all the lanes to make it happen to get the guy in the end zone. It's the
did all the
same.
dirty work,
That's leading from the front, bro. It's straight
and
up
that's
dirty
starting a
work.
business, right?
That's starting a business,
Got to
right?
do a
Starting
lot of.
flex.
Looks glamorous to people on the outside, but it's a lot of dirty work to get it to a point where it actually is profitable.
It's a lot of betting on yourself, right? I saw
Yeah,
something the other day and it said that starting a business is like jumping off a cliff and building the parachute on the way down, right? That's
yeah,
exactly what this is. There's no playbook for this, right? You can
yeah.
hire people who can help you out, but every business is going to be different, right? I couldn't hire somebody to help me start Flex because that vision came out of my head. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
But
right.
had you quit, had I stopped making content and doing all those things 4 years ago, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be who I am today, right? And then you add in all the things that my kids have been able to do and accomplish and all these things, man. So please, whoever's listening to this, do not quit. Keep going, right? This is where your balls are coming in. Let them come in. Mike, you there? Mike, you there?
Phone overheat.
I'm still
You
here.
there?
Can you hear me? Yeah. Yep. Still here.
And the frickin' phone overheated.
Oh, do you want to try to finish up or? You think we're
I
good? Or?
thought the you
Man, I can't
finished
hear
it
you,
was
dude.
actually perfect. Yeah,
Oh,
you hear
great.
me?
Great. Yeah, I can hear you. Dude, thanks so much, man, for having me on here, dude. For real. I really enjoyed this. This is something that I wanted to start doing more, to be honest with you, right? But man, my story is so dark and fucking morbid, like, you know, that it's I have to really come out of my comfort zone because I deal with so many business professionals, right? Like I don't want them looking at
Right.
me like, "Hey, this guy is fucking out there," right? But at the same time, I got to be true to who I am, you know? So you're kind of helping me kind of overcome some little mental hurdles right now, right? Cuz I'm excited to see some of these
I love it,
clips
man.
and I'm excited to see this content that you pop out from this, man.
Yeah, I'm going to throw some fire clips out today, man. So be ready.
Hell yeah, dude. Absolutely, bro. I sure will, man.
Crushed it, bro. You crushed it, man. Absolutely.
Man,
Your
and
energy is amazing.
if you want to do it again, if you want to do this again in a few months, you know, after you get some more guests,
Yeah,
brother, hit me up anytime, all right?
I definitely will, man.
Absolutely.
1000%. Thank you for your time, bro. Best of
Yeah,
luck
thanks,
with
Mike.
everything you're doing. And
I,
yeah, we'll
same to
talk to you,
you, dude.
brother.
Same to you, bro. Appreciate you,
I
man.
appreciate it, man. Keep it up.
Thank you.
All right, big dog. Talk to you.